Well, hello and welcome back to the Turismo Diaries. What a crazy 3 months or so it's been, but we're back, and today we're looking at something rather special. And it doesn't take a lot to get me behind the wheel of a Range Rover, but this one I've never heard of. It so happens to be a very limited edition version of the first generation Range Rover Sport. So today we'll be looking at this 2008 4.2 litre supercharged Range Rover Sport Mayfair edition. Mayfair International happened to do a very limited run of Range Rover Sports, and it's so limited that only 25 cars were produced, this being number 3. Now, back then the Range Rover Sport was a complete hit, so I think by the time they'd mentioned or given anyone an indication they were doing a limited run, they would have all been sold, possibly with no need for any sort of publicity, hence why so little information exists. So today I'm going to give you a quick tour around this Range Rover. We're going to start with the outside, and as we go along I'll tell you the bits and pieces that Mayfair International did to make their bespoke car. Ever since the Sport was launched in 2005, I've been a huge fan of the looks. All the way started with the front. You've got the light assembly, which just looks so clean and neat. The front grille, which is that perforated, reminds me of the gun turrets from a Messerschmitt aeroplane. You've got just the clean lines that run then along the sides. It's a very boxy utilitarian style design, but one that I think works so well, is very familiar of Range Rovers, and I think it still looks quite good even with the later generations released. With this car finished in silver, which I think along with black are the best two colours for a Range Rover Sport, you can see one thing that's very obvious with this bespoke edition, and that's the colour coding of the body panels. This stems from the front of the car with the skirt that runs under the front bumper, to as you come around the side you've got the A pillars and the D pillars colour coded. The roof is then matched in, so it's a much more hatchback effect rather than that floating roof that is conventional of the Range Rover and the Range Rover Sports. Along the side you've got the door handles that are colour coded, and then the bottom side skirts are also colour coded. The big 20-inch Stormer style alloy wheels finished in the same colour as the body. I think these look much better than if they were to be black. I think there's a trend has started where black alloy wheels are coming away from the sort of white and the silver cars, and people are opting for the more classical look, which I think, again, it's a matter of taste, but I think overall it does make the car look a lot better. And along the back you've got the Mayfair emblem, which replaced the supercharged emblem in that location, just to make sure everyone knows that this is a very bespoke edition. Overall, it's a matter of taste whether you like this or not. Quite a fan of it. I think it looks great. One of the telling features of the supercharged Range Rover Sport are the linear exhaust tips, which I think look superb. They're not quad exhausts, which I think can, again, it's a matter of taste, but can look a bit cheesy in my mind, especially if they're not needed. So I think the single dual tip exhaust, very linear design, very simple, classic looking, it looks spot on. Inside the car, even though this is the first generation, it's a fantastic place to be. The bespoke elements include the Alcantara headlining. You've got the white stitching on the leather seats, on the center console and the armrest, including the passenger seats. You have these Alcantara inserts on the doors, these green inserts with the white stitching. This gloss black center console, compared to the facelifted version, is a far more utilitarian, boxy arrangement, but nonetheless it still looks quite good and it's very functional. The buttons are quite big and everything's clearly labelled as to what it does. The automatic gearbox, you've got a conventional gear stick opposed to the command wheel that we had in the later version, but nonetheless it all is set out and is arranged perfectly. The steering wheel is a really nice design. It's got these linear control button panels either side of your thumbs. You have the window controls high up on the doors, which only really appear in Range Rovers, and it's the absolute perfect place to be. Lots of storage compartments. You've got the cup holders, and then this particular model comes with a fridge. All together, this black leather, black gloss inserts in the middle, with the chrome aluminium and the white stitching, make for a really nice palette of colours. Other interior features include a satellite and TV navigation. You've got quite a modern sat-nav touchscreen set in the centre, which is good for a car of this age. Some of the Mayfair elements include the Mayfair inscription along the top of the centre console, and then you've got a limited edition plaque, which you can see here, number 3 of 25. The white stitching is part of that pack as well, and altogether, again, what they've done is subtle, but it works really well. The rear seats are just as comfortable as the driver's seat, and for passengers, rear legroom is absolutely no issue. The boot is rather large. It's around 960 litres, which is about 50 litres smaller than the bigger Range Rover. The boot lid itself tries to be helpful with a small hatch, or you can then lift the whole boot open in one go, depending on what you're putting in. If you've just got a bit of shopping or something like that, it's good for just lifting that hatch, shoving your shopping in, and away you go. So that's enough about how this car looks inside and out. Let's go for a drive. So, under the hood we have a Jaguar 4.2 litre supercharged V8. In the bespoke changes, nothing has been changed as far as the performance of the vehicle is concerned. The engine is produced around 385 brake horsepower, is good for a top speed of 140 miles an hour, and will do 0 to 60 in 7.2, which for a car that weighs quite a lot is very good. Now the 4.2 is a variation of the 4.4 V8 that initially released with the Range Rover Sport, but due to lack of power, that was discontinued fairly soon after release, and the 4.2 took over, which looking at a lot of the reviews that came out, is the pick of the bunch. The drive is very similar to the car I drove previously, the 2010 model facelift, and it is no less exceptional. The driving position is a completely unique feature of the Range Rover, and it's the visibility you get over the bonnet of the road. It does feel narrower than you think, which is good for traversing the narrow country lanes. Again, you've got this really tall seating position, which is just fantastic, and I think it's one of the reasons why the Range Rover gets so much love is the seating position. For a car that sits so tall, the lack of body roll is almost surprising. Now, I'm just cruising along country lane speeds, and I know in my head that I'm not going to be trying anything silly around these corners on this lane. I just know that at these speeds, at sensible driving speeds, it feels really planted, and everything around you, the buttons are very clearly, everything is really easy to reach, the window controls, the light controls, obviously the indicators, the climate control, it's just, everything is just in the right place, nothing's hidden, it's tilted towards you, so you've got optimum viewing. If you're on your own, you can quickly have a look and find what you need. And again, I just can't put my finger on why this particular car, I'm sure other cars do it so well, but there's just something about this that just feels right. The engine is remarkable. It is bumblebee physics, how a car this big can move so quick. Again, the power's there when you need it, and again, it's to replace that sluggish 4.4, so it's not a car to be driven, you know, foot to the floor. The power's there if you need it, and for that I just love it. If you're looking for a car that's, you know, you're gonna turn around as you leave it, as you've parked it up, I think this does it quite well. In this specification, the supercharged, the additional bits that the Mayfair International did, I think it's a perfect all-rounder. In terms of living day to day, you know, MPG is not going to be on the high side. You're looking around 20 miles per gallon average, but a full tank will get you 320 miles. Road tax around £330 a year, which is to be expected based on the emissions. But again, I don't think that's a showstopper. If you're in the market for something special, you're going to be looking to spend that annually anyway. With the car being as popular as it was, General maintenance can be done via a number of specialists, and that will help to keep the costs at a low. Some of the things I like about the car, I really like the exhaust tips. I love the style of them, the simple nature of them. The wheels are fantastic. They are from the Range Stormer concept, and I think they look and work so well, especially in this colour scheme. Some of the things I don't like are the gloss black. You know, I'm not a fan of gloss black in cars, but I must say the way that this car is a 2008 car, it's done 75,000 miles, and the condition of the gloss black is fantastic. And one of the things I hate about gloss black is that if you rub a cloth over it to clean it, you end up scratching it. But I must say, in this particular instance, I don't know what kind of plastic it is or what finish it has on it. It's actually stood the test of time very well, so it works. I'm happy. Other thing is the dash. As I've been driving the car around today, the dash has grown on me, but it has this sort of waterfall drop off the edge, and I just think, I wouldn't necessarily say an afterthought, but I think if they were to do it again, they would remove it. And I can't remember if in the facelift, if they did. But again, it just seems to stick out a lot more in this version. But again, that is not going to take anything away from the experience of driving this car. Overall, I feel like this kind of car is a special car that you can use every day. You know, there aren't many people that can afford to run multiple cars, but a lot of people want to have something that enjoy their drive and something special. And there aren't that many cars out there that can do a lot of those things, but this one can. Now, this is not a sports car, obviously not a convertible, and you're probably not going to turn as many heads if you were to drive an Aston Martin or even a Jaguar. But as a driver, you can use it every day, depending on how long your commute is, or if you have a long commute. You can put the kids in the back, going a long trip. You can do your day-to-day jobs in it. You could put the bikes on the roof. You can do everything in this car and get the enjoyment of using it every day. And I think the aspiration to own a Range Rover is also ticked. So again, it just feels like the perfect all-rounder. For as long as I can remember, I've absolutely loved the Range Rover, and I've tried to put my finger on exactly why that is, and why it's not just me, it's so many people aspire to own and drive a Range Rover. Now obviously you've got a great looking car, you've got an interior that's fantastic, you've got a driving position that's great. It's just something about Land Rover, they just got it right. And I still haven't got the ultimate conclusion, but I'm working towards it. Well guys, I hope you've enjoyed the video. I thought I'd take this opportunity to just come back with something a bit special. I just want to take this opportunity to thank Broadley Car Sales. I'll put a link to their cars for sale, which includes this rather fantastic Range Rover, in the description below. And by all means, drop me a comment, ask me a question about the cars. If you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button, turn on the notifications, and I will see you in the next one.